I've got a question for you about a tie-up between baseball and these shoes, and I've got a hidden feature snuck into these shoes that not many people know about. But before we get to that, bang, right there is the main feature of these guys right here. Today, we're talking about a Reebok Question Mid, and they're calling it the Lottery right now. I'm sure the name will change by the time these guys hit the stores, which is due to happen on June the 25th. And it's an Allen Iverson shoe. Allen Iverson was drafted to the NBA 25 years ago this year in the 50th anniversary of the draft. So this year must be the 75th anniversary of the draft. And this is his signature shoe, the Reebok Question Mid. There's also, I think, a series of Reebok Answers, if I remember rightly. But the main shoe, the biggest shoe that comes out of the line is usually these Reebok Question Mids. There are lower versions as well out there, but this is probably the centerpiece of the Allen Iverson line. And these guys are celebrating that 25 years since his first round draft pick. And what we're looking at is the main feature on the shoe, the biggest deal. If you want to talk about these shoes, you want to know the number one point that makes them different from everything else out there is usually Question Mids would have Allen Iverson's number down at the bottom of the heels in that circle, number 3, and you can see that's traded out for a number 1 on these guys. And not just a number 1, it's a number 1 with a little line underneath it. And what that's all about is these right here. Now, I'm not knowledgeable enough about the NBA and drafts and stuff to actually talk about this stuff from memory. I actually had to research it and find out what's going on because I don't know how drafts work. Being British, the draft idea doesn't happen in British sports at all. And being out here in Tokyo, Japan, again, not a thing that I'm very familiar with. So this is a very American thing I don't know much about, but what we're talking about with these draft ping pong balls is, I guess it's something to do with they put them all into a bucket and pull out the one and say, okay, you guys, like Lakers got the first round pick or something like that. I don't know how it works, but the point is 25 years ago, the 76ers had the first round pick, and that number 1, which is written right in the back of these shoes in that circle down the bottom of the heels, they chose Allen Iverson from there. And in his first year in the NBA, he tied it up with Reebok, and have been doing the same thing ever since for 25 years. So that's the biggest story of the shoe. Anybody asks you about the Reebok Question Mid Lottery, and you can tell them right on the back there, instead of being a 3, it's a 1, and the 1 represents the lottery balls that they use in the draft picks. So that's the main thing, right out of the bat, boosh, smash, right in your face. That's the main discussion point on these shoes, and we're doing that these days on my channel. It used to be that we'd go with the sort of chat first and the general stuff about the shoes and gradually work through the video to get into the detailed stuff. But I thought I'd flip that and see if people appreciate that out there, if we just go straight into the shoe and talk about questions like this. What we're looking at right there is the lining of these guys, and I can't help but see Ken Griffey Jr. And hopefully I'll find one of the shoes that he's dropped recently. I think the Air Max 90s are probably the best to show that colour on them, but there was a lot of Ken Griffey Jr. Sneakers dropping from the Nike line that represents him moving into the front office over at the baseball. Was it my Major League Baseball, MLB? Again, American sports, sorry. But he's moved into the front office over there in baseball. And to celebrate that, they're bringing out a bunch of lines for him. And the big point is that those Air Max 90s that hopefully I've shown you here have that distinctive colour on them. And then we come back to today's shoe, and the lining on these guys looks an awful lot similar to that. And the question I have for you is there some kind of tie-up between these guys and Ken Griffey Jr.? I have no knowledge of Allen Iverson and Ken Griffey Jr. crossing it over. I guess they were pretty much contemporaries in their different sports, baseball and basketball, around about the same time. If Allen Iverson was drafted in 1996, that would have been pretty much at the peak of Ken Griffey Jr.'s sort of career in his sort of late 20s, I would guess. So they could have, crossed paths and their lines could have come together, or maybe that lining on these guys is just a colour that they chose for this shoe and it doesn't have anything to do with Ken Griffey Jr. But that's my question for you guys. If you know anything about it, comments down below. And then the secret hit on the shoes. After this, we'll get into the standard sort of stuff on there, what the branding looks like, why the distinctive midfoot branding matters, and especially that toe, because that's a big deal. But before that, the secret little thing that's going on. Most people out there are thinking that those heels are the one place that kind of give a nod to the lottery balls, which are the signature of these shoes. But actually, there's a hidden lottery ball on these guys, and I'm not sure how many people are catching it. And what I'm talking about is right here. Hopefully what you're looking at is the eyelets on the lateral side, and on the lateral side of the right shoe, it spells Reebok from top to bottom, but on the lateral side of we're talking about the eyelets, remember, of the left shoe, it spells Reebok from bottom to top. And the important thing in that is that the fifth letter is O, R-E-E-B. R-E-E-B-O-K. And if you look at the lateral side of the right shoe, you can see it spells top to bottom R-E-E-B-O-K, and that O in there is different from all the other letters on the eyelets. And what we're talking about is another nod to those lottery balls, and I don't know if many people are picking that up or not. Not only is the design of that O eyelet significantly different from the rest of the letters to represent the ball, it's actually a very different color, but it shows up a lot more on the lateral side of the left shoe, where the O is actually the second eyelet instead of being the fifth eyelet, because the letters are running in reverse from bottom to top. And hopefully I'm showing you on here, and you can see that the eyelets are kind of light grey, except for the one that has that ball on it, which is in a darker grey. So that's the secret hidden in the shoe that I don't know how many people out there are picking up on. And hopefully you're watching this and going, ooh, didn't know that. Thanks for telling me. And then we get into some of the standard stuff on the shoe. There's three places I really want to get to, and basically start at the front, go to the middle, and then down below. So we'll start with that toe, which is a real signature feature on Reebok Question Mids. Yellow toes, for example, was a big shoe earlier in the year, and playing around with that toe. I think they're calling this one Vector Blue. I don't know why I can't just call it blue, but it's Vector Blue toe on these guys. And what that's given you is, of course, that hit of colour on what is mostly a grey, white and black shoe, but also what it's given you is the suede. And it's the quality suedes that run through this shoe that give this a bit of a higher sort of stance in the world of sneakers. And that starts off with that toe box in Vector Blue. And then coming back from that to the midfoot, you see the branding that's going on there in a very red, white and blue branding pattern. Again, standing in contrast to what is basically a grey, black and white shoe. So you've got the blue on the toe standing out, you've got that lining up above the Ken Griffey Jr. lining, and then you've got the midfoot branding, all giving a lot more colour than the rest of the shoe. So and then they did talk about that midfoot branding being something to do with the 76ers colours, but I don't know enough about that to make a definitive statement, but maybe you do, and you're looking at that midfoot and saying, yes, 76ers colours. And then the last thing to do really is flip these guys upside down and have a look at the outsole, and you'll see the outsole standard Question Mids, sort of a semi-translucent, very dark kind of black feel to it, but definitely translucent, looking through into the branding underneath, which again is in that red, white and blue Reebok branding, very large on the front part of the I guess it's the midsole, because you're looking through the outsole into the inside of the shoe. So that dark, almost black, semi-translucent outsole is a great way to finish off this shoe and this video. In fact, I think before I do that though, I might have a wee peek in from above down onto the insoles, because I remember the insoles seem to be two different colours, which is something worth looking at. Hopefully it's showing up on the green screen here. And also that the lining around the tongues was something that was kind of unique. The red lining around those tongues giving another point of colour. To be honest, the colours are a bit sort of mismatched on this shoe. It's almost like two very different shoes. The Vector Blue, the red, white and blue of the branding, and the red around the tongues, very colourful, very bright, but then you get the greys and the whites and the blacks of the rest of the shoe, which is very monochrome. So it's almost like two completely different shoes that have been crammed together. And maybe I'm missing something in the story of that, and you guys can tell us more about it in the comments down below. But whatever, it's a great story to the shoe. 25 years since Allen Iverson was drafted. Here we are in 2021. He was drafted in 1996. First round draft pick for the 76ers. Changed the game of basketball forever. One of the greatest players of all time. Tied it up with Reebok. Produced one of the greatest shoe lines of all time. And still they're churning them out 25 years later. And we're looking today at that Reebok Question Mid Lottery. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and what I definitely want to hear about is whether or not you're noticing this difference, where we're sort of doing that kind of chat stuff like we did just now with the whole sort of the backstory to the shoe. Usually I would do that first, give the backstory to the shoe, and then get into the sort of details and the branding. But I think I'm reading the world rightly, that they actually want to see the details of the shoe first, and then if you're interested, you'll hang around for the chat. But if not, if you want to jump off and go somewhere else, or you already know what I'm talking about, then you can do that. So that's why we're flipping it up, and we're just diving straight in. First 20 seconds, bang, here's the main feature of the shoe. Let me know if it's appreciated. Let me know if that's what you want to be seeing, and we'll keep on doing it here at the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. For now though, it's time to wrap another one up. Here we are churning out the daily content, churned out another one for you guys today, and it's kind of just keeping it going. We're always on the edge trying to keep this daily content going, but every single day, 7 days a week, even on the weekends, still managing to get that coming. I'm heading for a summer holiday soon, and actually the holidays are a harder time for me to keep the content going, so fingers crossed the daily content will keep on into the summer of 2021. But for now, it's time for me just to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll do what I do at the end of every single video, which is remind you that I do this every single day And that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.